My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior, for he has looked with favor on the lowly state of his servant. Surely from now on all generations will call me blessed, for the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. He has brought down the powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things and sent the rich away empty. He has come to the aid of his child Israel in remembrance of his mercy, according to the promise he made to our ancestors, to Abraham, and to his descendants forever.
For he has looked favorably on his people and redeemed them. And you, child, will be called the prophet of the Most High. For you will go before the Lord to prepare his ways, to give his people knowledge of salvation by the forgiveness of their sins. Because of the tender mercy of our God, the dawn up from on high will break upon us, to shine upon those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace.
Thank you all. And for a trifecta, one more kind of song, one of my favorite, which is poetry, part of Mary Oliver's poem, I Worried. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it. And I am, well, hopeless. Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing and gave it up and took my old body and went out into the morning and sang. When I first read this poem for this week, the choice to sing felt a little like trite or random, but I read Mary Oliver and I know that's not going to be true. And I think that she is inviting us to think about, on this Sunday in particular, why we sing and when we sing. We heard two very different songs, two songs from different people, Mary and Zechariah at different stages in their life, but both songs about God, songs about faith, and they were both songs full of hope. Music is always an essential part of worship, but it feels like during Advent and Christmas, it just seems even more, right? Some of these songs we know better than hymns we sing all year long. We think that's so true. Next week, we're literally going to sing our message by doing Christmas carols for our service next week with Marin and Angie. I mean, I could offer to join, but I don't think they want me to. I'm just fine from the front row. Because singing puts feelings and understandings in our body in a way that other things just don't, messages or prayers. They've done tons of studies on singing, on how it's good for you, especially with other people. If you sing with other people, it's good for your physical and your mental health. It lowers anxiety. It stimulates memory for those struggling with dementia. It increases lung capacity. It makes us optimistic. It fosters trust. It makes us feel less lonely and makes for stronger relationships, especially people who sing in choirs or groups or bands. I talked about this with Jerry earlier this week. I learned before COVID, over 54 million people participated in choirs, including my husband, who sings in the choir at his church, and they're kind of his small group. And they adopt me even though I bring no musical capabilities whatsoever. But singing can have a profound effect on us. But we also learned this interesting thing at the start of COVID, that it could have a very different profound effect on our health. It became one of the most dangerous things we could do as a church. I remember going to an entire Zoom meeting about how dangerous it was to sing in church together. Not on my list of things I ever thought I'd attend. And I remember those first few weeks when I was preaching to an empty sanctuary, we didn't even project the music out into the sanctuary, so I just waited in silence until it was the next part I was supposed to lead. This act of singing and music was so intertwined with my lifelong experience with worship and with church, it seemed like something precious had been taken for me when I was told it wasn't safe anymore, that it had become dangerous. But when I listened to Mary and Zechariah's song, both singing as people of faith and people of God about scattering the proud and bringing down the powerful, and the one who would prepare the way for a mighty Savior, I realized that singing about hope is always a little bit dangerous, in a good way, but it is also one of the ways that we rejoice as a weary world. It's not dangerous for the weary. They're the most excited about it. It is dangerous for those they sing about, the powerful, the proud, and the rich, for any system that deems any group more worthy than the other. As we have said for the last couple of years, if we aren't all free, then no one's free. Our songs of hope, including the two that we hear today, are about justice. That justice makes us free. God's justice for the poor, for the needy, and the powerless. Even some of the songs we sing during Advent remind us of the coming of Jesus, of Emmanuel, cannot be separated from justice. We sing, O come, Emmanuel, and ransom those who are captive in exile in Israel. We asked him to fill the whole world with heaven's peace. And it came upon a midnight clear, we sing, and you beneath life-crushing load, whose forms are bending, who toil along, will hear the angels sing. The days the prophets foretold, when peace shall over all the earth arrive. Just as peace and joy were linked last week, this week joy and love is linked to justice, and how justice is linked to us singing songs of hope. But why do Mary and Zechariah sing in this moment? Well, first off, Mary's song is meant to remind us of another song in the Old Testament of Hannah. It sounds a lot like that one, and she's another woman who celebrated God when her son Samuel was born, a son who would also be given to serve as a priest, to serve God his whole life long. And Hannah, like Mary, recounts what God has done for her people, especially the weary. She sings how he raises up the poor from the dust, he lifts the needy from the ash heap. They sing because of these miracles of God, these miracles that refresh their hope in God and what God can do. Both Mary and Hannah sing of the past, of what God has already done, the ways that God has made things right and made things just. They look back in their past to understand what God was doing for them in the present, to help them understand that. So they sing songs of hope to remember who God is and what God has always done, which is rescue his weary people, hear their prayers, answer their calls, offer justice. These are actually from my office. That's my whiteboard. These are two things that Mary, one, hears from Elizabeth, which is, blessed is she who believed. And then she sings that because the mighty one has done great things for me. I keep these two quotes on that whiteboard for when I get weary, so I can remember when I have been blessed, when I have believed. So I can remember that the mighty one has done great things for me too. It reminds me, as Celia Armstrong states, this is Mary's reminder to us and the world to let God be the rock on which we stand. Let God be the one who brings things to life. God will be the one and only reason a weary world can rejoice. Mary's song of hope is a chance to reflect and remember how we got here in the first place, because of God's faithfulness, because the mighty one has done great things for us, of a past of what God has been for us and how God has been with us. So if Mary's song is about the past, Zechariah's song of hope is for the future, one that he can see in the birth of his son. Can you imagine all the things he has to say at this moment after this extended period of quiet and reflection? And after all that time, the first thing he does is he chooses to sing. That's what he wants to do. He wants to sing a song of hope and a song of blessing, a song of life over his long-awaited son. And not just any child, but the voice that had been promised to him by the prophets. One that was going to cry out in the wilderness and proclaim, "Prepare the way of the Lord." Zechariah sings a song of the future, of what is to come, of what will be because of God's love, because of God's faithfulness. Despite his own weariness, whether out of age or circumstances or his fear over being a parent at this point in his life, he sings, "It is because of the tender mercy of our God. The dawn from on high will break upon us to shine upon those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet in the ways of peace." His hope is that the future will be better than that he has known. But it will be full of God's tender mercy. That's what will make it different. He also speaks as one who may not see all that his son will do. He may not live to see that. He may not live to see all that Mary's son will do. But he sings of hope because he knows that God will be present, that they will do great things for God's justice. He offers this song and this blessing over his son, to speak life over all those who would take over the faith and fight for God's justice even after he is gone. So as we have asked all of this Advent season, how does a weary world rejoice? The answer on this Sunday of Love is we sing songs of hope. And not just those with beautiful voices like Marin. We are all invited to join the song. Because like Mary and Zechariah, we can be weary and we can be scared, but we can also be amazed and be joyful. We, like Mary, can sing of our past, of the mighty things that God has done for us, how despite everything, sometimes justice prevails when the poor are lifted up. We sing songs of hope about all the ways our pasts reflect God's presence in our lives, whether in this church or another one, whether in our homes, our jobs, in nature, or in other people. When we were blessed because we believed, like Mary, that miraculous things can still happen to us and in the world. When we survived things we thought we could not possibly endure. When the dark didn't last forever. But like our Advent candle or Advent wreath, the warmth of God's light finally found us again. How does a weary world rejoice? We sing songs of hope like Zechariah. We sing blessings over the future, ones we may not be fully part of, for the church and for the world. We sing songs for next generations, who may sing their songs in different places than sanctuaries, but they might sound a lot like the ones that we sing here, asking for justice for the poor, help for the needy, release for the prisoners, and comfort for the poor in spirit. They may find God's tender mercy present in ways we couldn't have ever imagined, but we sang about it. We sang that it was possible. That's how you know to even ask for it. Because that's what people of faith have done. We have sang songs of hope for a more Christ-shaped world, where all inequities and injustices are removed, not just in spirit, but in reality. One of my favorite examples of this comes from How the Grinch Stole Christmas. After he has stolen all the gifts and all the decorations and all their stuff, he's waiting patiently for the wailing and the crying and the gnashing of teeth. But that's not what happens. The thing that astonishes him the most is that despite all that they had lost, the Who's down in Whoville keep singing. Churches and Christians have done that for thousands of years. Through histories that have known both injustice and justice, Christ followers have sang songs of hope in the midst of their weariness. So like we join Mary and Zechariah, we join all Christians from all over the world, and we find a way to rejoice by singing songs of hope, of our past and all the good and grace and love and presence of God we have known there, and we sing songs of hope for the future, that others beyond us will continue it even farther. Doesn't mean we aren't still weary, but it means we will choose love, that we will seek peace, that we will accept the gift of joy, and we will sing of hope. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing and gave it up and took my old body and went out into the morning and sang.